and welcome back to Diving into Watches. And I got another good review for you today. As you probably saw in my little quick video, YouTube video, the upcoming one, we are going to be reviewing the Seiko King Turtle, probably one of the best Seiko dive watches they've made since introducing this back in 1976 when it was released originally to just the Japanese domestic market. I'll go into a little bit of history and everything over on the bench, and I do all the details in the background of the watch. Uh, Now there could be a lot of argument on what is the best Seiko watch ever made. The 62 Mas or some of the other ones and the recreations they've done that are beautiful Seiko watches, but extremely expensive. But as far as an overall iconic look, the case shape, the military horology, the military history of the watch, the movie history of the watch, i.e. Captain Willard and Apocalypse Now. Obviously, this is not the Captain Willard. There's a different version of the Seiko. There's the Captain Willard. And there are many different versions of the Seiko Turtle. There's the Seiko Turtle, the Seiko King Turtle, the Mini Turtle, and some other different ones that have come out with. But it is the Seiko King Turtle, and I will go into what makes this the King Turtle over on the bench when I go for the reviews. But this is definitely an awesome watch. I noticed recently the prices of these have come down a little bit. Typically they were in the 450, in the 550 to 600 range, brand new. And I was just on a website, Teddy Balasar's website, that is an authorized dealer, which I have no affiliation with. I've just bought some watches through there before. And I think right now they're listed at like 375, $400, which is crazy for the Seiko King Turtle. This is the SRP E93, and I'll verify that on there with this SRP E93. The original one I was going to get was the SRP 05, which is the black dial one. It's hard to keep under all these reference numbers, but we'll go over what makes this such an iconic watch, from the dive history, the military history, the specifications, what it wears like, what it feels like, what separates and what makes the King Turtle different from the regular turtles that you can buy, and why you definitely want to add a Seiko King Turtle to your collection, especially if you're a huge fan of the Seiko watch brand, which I am. I love Seiko, and I love Seiko King Turtles, and I love the Seiko Turtles. This is definitely one that you want to add to your watch brand. If you have one, put it down in the comments. Tell me what you love about it. Which one do you have? Do you have the Seiko King? Do you have the Seiko King Turtle? Do you have the Seiko Turtle? Do you have the Captain Willard? I wouldn't mind adding a Captain Willard. I built a clamage of the Captain Willard off of an Audi dive watch, and I actually did a video on that, what the difference between the two is, and it's very subtle. That's why I call it a clamage and not a homage. And I changed out the dial and made it into a Captain Willard. So go back and watch that video where I review that watch, and I actually turn that into a Captain Willard clamage. So without further ado, let's get over to the bench. Let's do this review. Okay, here we go, folks. This is the Seiko Turtle, SRP E05. So all these nomenclatures. I wish sometimes they would make this just a little bit easier to remember, because there's all these different numbers. But this is the Seiko. Just a little bit background on this watch. It was released to the Japanese market, domestic market, back in 1976. It was designed by Ikakura Takunaga, and as I said, it was originally just to the Japanese domestic market back in 1976 before it became available. The reason it's got its name as the turtle was the cushion case, as it resembled a turtle body, so it picked up the nickname of the turtle, hence the cushion case, which actually makes this watch extremely comfortable to wear, even though it's just such an iconic look. When you see this style, you instantly know what this watch is. You know it's a Seiko, and you know it's a Seiko Turtle. The Seiko Turtle dive issued to seals starting around the late 1970s until the mid 1990s. This was issued to the Navy SEALs and the Navy divers. It was very popular and kept and used by them even past the 90s, late into the late 90s, early 2000s, but eventually in the late 90s, the Navy stopped issuing the Seiko Turtle and started issuing the G-Shock for digital purposes, mainly because in diving, this bezel could get bumped and they could knock off their dive time. And there's just missions they were on that needed to be uh, more time correct, so that with the digital, your variations per day are almost nothing. It's almost indiscriminate. You can't even tell. So that was the reason they switched. Even though the soft community still continues to wear um, Rolex, Tudor type watches, is kind of their heritage, going way back, clear back into Vietnam. Seiko watches, not this particular brand, but Seiko watches in themselves are big in the SF special operations community, clear back into Vietnam with Mac and SOG, which was the Military Advisory Command and Special Operations Group, which was made up of CIA, Special Forces, and SEALs, do all kinds of crazy stuff in Vietnam. And they were issued very inexpensive Seiko dive watches. I don't have the exact nomenclature on them, but they were issued them, A, because of expense. It was very, very cheap. And B, they were so plentiful that if captured, they felt that the watch, other than they knew, Americans in Vietnam, but they wouldn't be able to tie the type of watch they were using to the country. So that's why I was a Seiko, because you could get Seikos anywhere in the world. Um, so that's the kind of the military tie-in, mostly on the Navy side. All branches obviously wore this watch: the 70s, late 70s, 80s, and 90s, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. But they were issued to the Navy SEALs and the Navy divers back in the late 70s and to the middle of the 90s. So with that, let's get into the dimensions of this gorgeous watch. Okay, the case dimensions we have here are: the width of the watch is 45 millimeters from side to side. The lug width is 22 millimeters. So it is a strap monster. You can put all kinds of straps on this. And I'll show the strap it originally came with, and then what strap. I'll talk about the strap I have on it right now. But the height of the watch is 13.5 millimeters. So it's not thin, but it's not overly sized. It's not thick at all, which is nice. It is a sapphire glass. It is not a domed sapphire. You can see that the sapphire actually sits a little below the bezel here insert, which is good because that helps protect the sapphire from getting hit, as it's not protruding above the bezel. The bezel is actually sitting above the sapphire, protecting it, but it is a sapphire glass. It is a ceramic bezel, and it is I think it's 316, 316 stainless steel case. The top of the case is all brushed. The um, the bezel is brushed, and then the sides are polished and it has drilled end links, and the backside is polished, and it has a screw down case and a screw down crown. There is an AR reflective coating on the underside, and it is not super luminova, but it is Lumi Bright. We will do a lume shot that you can see how well that works. Not as good as super luminova, but it is definitely good. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more so we can just get a little more close up. The dial is, Seiko calls it a waffle pattern. I like to call it a grenade pattern because it reminds me of, many people call it grenade pattern, but I like it, the grenade pattern reference, because it looks like a grenade, old style World War II pineapple grenade, and it's green. It's an OD green. The original one that I had got when I ordered was the SRP E93, I believe, which was the non-waffle pattern but black dial. And when I got it in, it was probably the first time ever where the crown was extremely hard to undo and very difficult to turn back in. And when I'd wind it, the seconds hand would move just for a little bit and then it would stop. And it had a bad movement. I had to send it back. When they sent me the replacement, they actually sent me this one by mistake and not the original one I ordered, which was nice because that one was a little bit more. So I got a little bit of money back on this one. And I actually kept this one because I liked it better with OD green. So there you go. The indices are applied. The name and the automatic Divers 200 are, it looks like they are printed on. They don't look like they're applied. The indices are definitely applied. The chapter ring has minute markers in between each indice. The hands are silver pointers, and then the, kind of get it right there, the seconds hand is a gold seconds hand lollipop on the end, and then gold on this end. Kind of gives it a little bit added color. It is a 6R36 movement, which the 36 is the day date, and you can see it is not after midnight, I'm not recording this one. It's just that I picked up the watch and this is it started going again. It's getting ready to turn over the date and the day. So yeah, I'm not recording this after midnight. So, but this does have the Cyclops magnifier on it. I guess it's not really Cyclops, just magnifier, just but because it's the day date. But it's a 6R35 movement or 6R36 movement, which is I believe minus 15 to plus 40 seconds a day. I think I have mine. The last time I tested it, it was plus 5 seconds a day. I think that's what it was. I have to double check it. Can't recall exactly. I actually like a lot of people. Some people don't like the magnifier on it. They just like it clean without it. As I get older, with my old eyes, I do like the magnifier. I just prefer it. Um, but some people don't. I guess that's a personal preference. It is 120 click bezel. It's very smooth, very, very nice. But typical of Seiko, you get okay, right there, it's lined up, but it's not locked in. So if I lock it in, it's off to the right. If I go and click it to the left, where it locks in, it's off. And you can see the typical QC issues with Seiko. The bezel does not line up with the top of the chapter ring. Is that a deal killer for me? No. I've kind of come to just to be accustomed to it. If I don't let it click back in and I keep it just like center between two clicks, I can line it up. But then you've got a lot of play. See the play in it if I do that? If I click it right there, just clicked, I'm off to the left, and the other way I'm off to the right. It is what it is. That's okay. You know, that's just seems to be the Seiko MO nowadays. Being that way, it just seems to be the MO of the way the watch is. It is also as they started, a ceramic bezel. So that what the difference between the turtle and the King Turtle that you're going to get that justifies the extra cost. And in my mind, it does justify the extra cost because I just like to have these little added features. Some people do, some people it's no big deal. The bezel is ceramic and not aluminum, and the crystal is sapphire versus mineral crystal bezel. I'm sorry, mineral crystal glass. So it's more scratch uh, potential on it versus a sapphire. But the mineral crystal does hold up very, very well. My other Seiko watches are mineral crystal, and they hold up very well. But that is the difference between the King Turtle and a Turtle. Is you're going to get the upgraded ceramic bezel and the sapphire glass. The crown is unmarked as usual. There are no crown guards. There is a little bit in the case of an indent, but nothing building up around the crown. There's a little bit of protection there, which is nice, but it's not like some watches. It doesn't make it very trying to grasp it at this size. You definitely have to go from if you're looking at it from this way, the 9 and the 9 and the 12 is the best way to grab the crown. Otherwise, you go from the 3 and the 9. It's very, very challenging. The case back is very nice. It has the typical Seiko wave, and it just gives you the basic information on the watch in the back, and it gives you the movement, the 4R36. Prospect, you can't see it's under the hand in the front, and it's divers 200 meters, 600 feet, which is pretty standard. The bracelet, the band that I have it on, the first one I bought, it came on a bracelet, and I had already bought, as I said I always do, I always change out the bracelets. I had already bought this strap to replace that bracelet because I wanted to keep with that late 70s, early 80s vibe and feel. And I love this waffle pattern FKM full rubber strap from, let's see if I got it on here, if you can see it on the name on it. This is a Zulu diver strap. They're out of England, and they probably make one of the best tropic straps on the market that I've come across. I really, really like them. The thing I like about them is when they're through the two guards, when it's through the second one, I've noticed with some other straps, and I'll show you, is they don't cut this way back. So there's very little that it leaves room for this to slop around. There's like no movement. Even when it's all the way back, you can see that the cut angle is very, very small. In a few of the other watches that I have this type of strap on that is not a Zulu diver strap, this is cut much narrower and it flops around. And I know maybe it's just my OCD. It just really, really drives me nuts and I hate it. So even when it's pulled all the way up to the edge, you can see there's not that much room left for movement. I just really like that about the Zulu diver straps. The feel is very, very good. And if you've had any dealings with the FKM full rubber straps, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It came with it's not rubber, it is silicone. It came with a green silicone strap that kind of mimics the dial color, but not 100%. But it's very soft, it's very pliable. It is a nicer rubber strap that you can get on a watch. What I don't like about it is it only has one strap guard, and I have a very small wrist, so when it's locked in, uh, then it's on my wrist. I get a lot of extra strap, and I don't like all the extra strap, and there's no way to lock that down. So I'm probably not that far up on the strap, but I have a 6 1/4 inch wrist. So, but there, I just didn't like all the extra, and and this tends to not hold very well. It slides down very, very easy. And when I was finding out throughout the day that it would slide almost all the way down to where the buckle was, and this whole part would just be hanging and flapping on the watch is on my wrist, and this whole part is hanging out and flapping. I just could not stand it. It just drove me nuts. So as soon as I got the watch, I threw on this full FKM rubber strap, waffle strap from Zulu Divers. This other one I just got in is from Blue Shark, and it is an FKM rubber strap, 22 millimeter, also with quick release. I wanted to try one of theirs out, and I noticed that, oh, you can really see it now. You can see the difference. You put them tip to tip. See the difference in how fast, how far back they cut and narrow that strap out versus the Zulu Diver doesn't narrow out to like the very, very tip, which I prefer and love. So when this strap is on, let's say this is where you're at, you have all this extra it just moves around. I don't like it. Or you move the strap up here, because of how narrow it cuts back, it moves around a lot in here. I know it's being kind of nitpicky, but just, I don't know. It's just one of my things. I like things secure, and and then this tends to, because it's not engaging the guard, the lock, whatever you want to call this, it's very, very loose. So this tends to slide off or slide down. And if you have a bigger wrist, that's probably not going to be an issue. But with a smaller wrist, this is going to be an issue. And God, I just hate that. It drives me nuts. These are relatively both the same cost. I think this was 34, and I want to say this was 35 or $45, I think, with shipping from England, and I think it was free shipping. I can't recall. And then this was, I think I think Blue Shop's based right here in Arizona, down in Tucson. It's still nice. It's still very nice, but even the feel, it feels very similar. It's just that cut. It just drives me nuts. I know it's petty. I know it's just drives me nuts. Where this one, when it's locked in, see that there, when it's on that strap, this doesn't move. I mean, you really got to push it to move it. Where that, you saw that other one was flopping around. So that's just my little pet peeve on it. Like I said earlier, I always replace them all. Even if I had gotten the other one on the bracelet, I would have replaced it with this one, as I just prefer that one. The weight wise, it's not bad. It weighs in at 124 grams, so it's not extremely heavy on the wrist. It's very, very comfortable all day. Let me go ahead and get it on. Oh, I didn't do my watch check today. What I have on today is my Seiko SNKP21J1, all Arabic numerals and Arabic day and date. This just goes back to the past life, past job, past locations, the Middle East and whatnot, where I've been, and people I ran into, and people in the different communities that I ran in would wear this watch, and I just always admired it, and decided one day I was going to pick one up, and I finally picked one up, and I have it on a Barton strap. I'll be doing a review on this one eventually, but we're not here to talk about that one. We're here to take a look at the Turtle. Let me go ahead and throw on the wrist. There it is on my 6 1/4 inch wrist. You can see it sits very comfortably right in the middle of my wrist. There's no overhang on the lugs because they taper down. Even though it's 47, they taper down very nicely, so there's no overhang, there's no gap. The strap fits very, very comfortably. This is movable, adjustable. This is not moving. You can see this is not moving at all. It's very, very firm, very snug, very comfortable. Looks great on the wrist. Definitely get you some outside shots if possible. Comfortable, looks good, feels great. Highly recommend this one. 2 thumbs up. Wish I knew about these a long time ago. I would have wore one definitely in my military career. But again, late to the show on this one. So that is the overall dimensions and a little bit of the backstory and the back history of the Seiko King Turtle and why I think it is one of the best. I know people are going to argue in the down in the comments about other watches like the 62 Maz and whatnot could be better, but let's go ahead and kick it back over to the studio. I'm going to give you my final review of one of my thoughts. Um, as you can see, I didn't have a lot of moans and niggles. My only really complaint was the QC, as always, the Seiko issues with the lining of the bezel, and I just not a fan of the silicone bracelet with just the one guard. So let's kick it back over to studio and give my final thoughts. Okay, folks, there you go. There is the review of the Seiko King Turtle SRP05 with the OD green grenade dial, and which I have on the FKM rubber strap by Zulu Divers. Go check them out. Again, I have no affiliation with any of these people. These are just bands and stuff that I've accumulated over my time of collecting watches and wearing them. I have some crappy bands, some great bands. Maybe one day I'll do a video on all the different bands, different straps and stuff that I used over time. So tell me what you think. Do you think that the Turtle is one of the best, if not the best, dive watches they've made, that Seiko has made? Tell me down in the comments. I'm sure people can say the 62 Maz. I have a 62 Maz watch that I built myself, honestly, with the factory Seiko dial and a 4R35 movement. And honestly, I'll do a review on that. I love that watch. I love the case. I have it on a rubber strap, but it is not a factory 62 Maz, but it's a Seiko case. It's a Seiko movement. It's a factory Seiko dial. So, but it's just not made in a Seiko factory. What do you think is the best Seiko diver ever made? Put that down in the comments. Let's find out. Maybe if I get enough people talking about some other ones, I'll see if I can get my hands on those and do a review on those. Catalog for Seiko watches is just extreme, very, very extreme. And they have so many variations on the Seiko Turtle, the Patty, the limited editions, the Save the Ocean. There's just so many different variations of the Turtle, the King Turtle, the Mini Turtle, and then all the other ones they do on the monsters and whatnot. So, but in my mind, this is one of the best. Maybe people argue that Captain Williter is the best, but that is based on it is a beautiful watch, it's an awesome watch, but it is based on a fictional military character in the Apocalypse Now, played by Martin Sheen. But you know what? To get yourself a Captain Williter, you're going to be dropping $1,500 to $1,800 new with Seiko, and they used the gray market. I've seen them down around 850 range. I don't know. I'll stick with my King Turtle. The exact same watch, it's just a different nomenclature for the Captain Williter, different hand, a little bit different dial, but it is the same. It is the same case, and this is going to run you $350 to $500 versus $1,800 to $800. But if you want that that pedigree, that DNA of the Captain Williter and the tie to the movie, then get that watch. I totally get it. I understand it. Yeah, absolutely get it. I mean, makes no sense. I wouldn't mind having a Willard. Maybe I'll get one. I don't know. I just there's other watches in that price range that I have my eyes on that I'd like to get and own than I would that. But hey, thank you again, everybody, for the great boost you've given my channel for my last video. That just had an incredible response, and the level of subscriptions has gone through the roof. I do listen to you. I've got some watches planned that people have made comments on that they wanted to see when I watched the previous one. You notice there's no chair. I took the chair out. I got a lot of comments about, hey, great video, but you look like Captain Spock, or you look like Spock, hey, long live and prosper. You look like an elf. You look like you look like Captain Kazoo, blah, blah, blah. So there is no chair. And I made some other changes just to make the distractions, taken away from the gaming chair. So I do listen to you. Hopefully I responded to all your comments. Give this video a hit the subscribe button. Please keep those channels going. It allows us to do more content, allows us to get better at what we do and put out better information. Hit that like button. If you're interested in the Captain Willard, I did do a review of the Audi Dive version of the Captain Willard, and then how I modified it to be a Seiko Captain Willard homage, where I actually took a factory Seiko dial and Captain Willard hands and modded it to be like a Captain Willard. But it is not a Captain Willard. It is a Audi Dive watch that I pulled the dial off and changed it out. Okay, but thank you again for the watching video. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up. stay tuned to the next video. We got a lot of great things coming your way. Give us your feedback, what you'd like to see some of, what you don't like, and we'll try to do the best for we can. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.